California's Communities is supported by the California Redevelopment Association Foundation, a statewide organization made up of cities, counties, nonprofits, and private businesses sharing a common goal of bringing renewed life to neighborhoods and downtowns by expanding local businesses, creating jobs, building affordable housing, restoring buildings, and improving public facilities and infrastructure. Redevelopment, building better communities throughout California.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and we've just pulled off the road and we're standing right here on the edge of this beautiful vineyard. Look at the vines going up on the side of the hills here. We're in Napa, and when you think of Napa, you think of vineyards and you think of great California wine. Doesn't get any better. But you know what? There's more to Napa than just vineyards and good wine. And that's what this adventure is all about, because we're getting ready to leave this vineyard and head into downtown Napa, spending the whole day looking at something that is quite amazing. It's very historic, and boy, everybody in town is very proud of it too. We're getting ready to look at something that makes Napa one of California's finest communities. Okay, our adventure begins, and we're not in a vineyard. We're on the river, the Napa River, to be exact. And I'm standing here with Cassandra. You're with the city of Napa.
And welcome, Huell.
Well, it's a beautiful day. Look at this.
A perfect day to visit Napa's riverfront.
Every day is a perfect day to visit Napa's riverfront. Why are we on the river instead of in a vineyard? That's what I want to know.
Because we've been working for the last 15 years to have a renaissance of our historic riverfront.
Okay, let's talk about that riverfront for just a minute. When you say historic, you know what you're talking about. It goes way back.
150 years, granary mills, tanneries, a lot of commerce, you know, a port for the gold rush, people coming in, going out.
It was a hustling, bustling, active place.
That's right.
Then what happened? And this is kind of a familiar story in California.
As with a lot of historic communities, commerce left the riverfront. We turned our back on it and went into disrepair. And it took some visionary people to come along and say we should look at the river again. We should embrace the river. We should make it a focal point of our downtown.
That's what this adventure is all about. We're going to go up and down the river. About how far is this project? Just a couple of blocks, really, though, isn't it?
Well, we have a project that's about 7 miles long, but the heart of the Napa River, the riverfront in downtown Napa, is about 4 blocks long.
That's what we're here to see. We're going to see every foot of those 4 blocks, because this is a true California success story. You have brought back the old riverfront from its dilapidated, worn-out days, and it's today a shining jewel right here in downtown Napa.
We're celebrating the river every day with restaurants and retail and entertainment, and we would love to show you.
We are ready to start the celebration. They're happy dogs on the riverfront, but we are not here to look at happy dogs. We're here to look at history. Your name, sir, is?
Harry Price.
Okay, we are standing in front of one of the most historic places in this whole project here. Tell us what this is all about and how you're connected with it.
I'm the developer of the Napa Well project with some of my partners, and it all started with my wife's idea that I should do a project and rescue some of these old buildings instead of building some industrial buildings.
Okay, so the idea was when you started to redevelop this area around here, you said, look, this is a beautiful old structure here. Why not incorporate this into what's going on here?
Well, there wasn't much going on at the time we started. It was the waterfront was very derelict, and it had just been flooded with the major flood in 1986, and everybody was trying to figure out what do they do about the Napa River. And so we started in 1987 on trying to plan a project here.
So this was kind of a leap of faith on your part because you were the first.
Well, I had a get out of jail card because it was my wife's idea.
Well, what have you done? You've got an old building over here. You've got, I guess this was an old mill, wasn't it?
Well, the part over here is, it's a general store, actually used to be a hay barn.
Uh-huh.
And the part where we see kind of a truss behind me over here used to be a drive-through for trucks that would deliver granary mills.
Mm-hmm.
And they would drop in the grain at the bottom of those silos, and then they would take the silos would take the grain up through a conveyor system to the top and put it in different compartments. Then they mixed the grain for a different type of feed for different type of farm animals.
And it would end up being put into boats.
End up putting into boats, and it would end up putting into trucks that would drive right through the middle of this building, put it on into trucks, and take it out to the various farms, because Napa was an agricultural community.
Well, what have you made out of this now? What is it now?
The hay barn is basically a general store now, which is a restaurant and things. And we've turned a couple of the buildings into the lobby of a hotel and hotel structures, and we have a jazz club and Celadon restaurant.
How are people in Napa reacting to this? This is a beautiful hotel.
Well, we've had nothing but support from the city and the county. Took a lot of different people to help bring these buildings
back to life.
Back to life.
Because if you hadn't done this, that would have either fallen down or been torn down by now, probably, don't you think?
Probably. We did retrofit these structures, and it wasn't but about 2 months after the retrofit was completed and we opened that the earthquake hit Napa. So
people like old things like this, don't they? They like feeling like they're part of history.
I think they make it feel authentic, because Napa's really California's first American city, built by Nathan Coombs and John Grigsby, laid out, and the Napa Mill is on the original 8 blocks of the city of Napa.
So it goes way back.
So it goes back to the founding of the city. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, even though it was your wife's idea.
Yeah.
I guess congratulations to both of you.
All right.
Because you pulled it off.
Well,
and you're kind of the linchpin for this whole project up and down the riverfront.
Well, it was, the city understood that, and the city, without the aid of the city and the redevelopment agency and overcoming all the different kinds of toxics and other things that were left over from the prior uses of this as an industrial structure, it wouldn't be here. So there are thousands of people that were involved in helping us get this done.
Well, it's a real success story. It's a perfect place to start this day right here. They call it Napa Mill today. It's historic. It's been here since the early days. Today it's restaurants, hotel rooms. It's the linchpin, the heart and soul of what this project up and down the river is all about. Okay, as our adventure continues, we have left the old Napa Mill, and Cassandra and I are now strolling down by the riverfront, and this has a name.
Yes, we call this our river trail. It's going to ultimately be about 7 miles long, but right now is our brand new development we call the riverfront.
Now, is that what all this is here? What are all these buildings?
Well, this is pretty exciting for us. It's our first mixed-use project downtown. We have some houses. We have 3 great new restaurants that are going to be opening up. The first is Morimoto. I think most people know him as the Iron Chef.
Uh-huh.
He opened about a month or so ago. Great late-night dining.
And then people are going to be living right here looking out over the river.
We have about 50 units right on the Napa River. Some condominium units. There's some office space. We even have a bicycle shop.
Well, now we saw people walking their dogs. We have seen people on bicycles today. So people use this river trail to hike, to bike, to walk their dogs, just to recreate.
It's a great recreational piece in downtown Napa.
Cassandra's a little defensive about the fact that we're at low tide. But that's okay. That's part of being a river, isn't it? It's not always at high tide. It's at low tide right now.
And we have about a 6-foot tidal flow here. So remove the tides coming in. But right now you can see some of our mud flats.
Well, I've been listening to some of your ducks.
We love the ducks.
These are authentic Napa ducks.
Yes, they are.
And the bridge that connects, this is the way we came in. This isn't historic, this looks new.
It was the first piece of our flood control project, which was to replace a lower bridge into this higher bridge that could span the river. And you see the pilings for our future boat dock.
So this whole thing kind of was tied in with a flood control project, but it turned into being a whole bigger thing.
A whole bigger thing. You know, Napa used to flood on a regular basis every few years. And until we got the flood control project in, you know, developers didn't want to invest. But now that they have confidence that we won't be flooding on a regular basis, we're seeing a lot of money, almost $1 billion in the last 10 years.
Wait a minute. Did I hear you say a billion with a B?
You heard $1 billion with a B.
Right here on the
Right along,
riverfront.
well, downtown Napa in general, but most of the money focused on the riverfront.
Wow. Well, this is beautiful. Look at this. All up and down. These are all brand new buildings waiting for people to move in, and they're going to be able to sit in their condos, their apartments, and look out at the river and the bridge and the ducks and enjoy the ambiance of being here on the river. We're following the Happy River ducks. Oh, look. There they go, and now we've come to another beautiful place here. What is this all about?
This is our Veterans Memorial Park. It's sort of the downtown gathering space, the community space. We hold all of our events down here, a river festival, 4th of July festival, Shakespeare in the Park.
See, you're starting to have a festival honoring the river.
Yes.
Because I have a feeling, you know, when you think of Napa, you do think of wine and vineyards. You don't necessarily think of the river.
No, but a river festival each September we have it, Labor Day weekend. The symphony plays.
Right out here.
In the park. We have some fireworks at the end.
Oh, wow. This is beautiful.
It's the community spot.
Now this is interesting. This happened purely by accident. We were walking through the park. We looked up here and saw you all sitting here. What's the deal?
Well, we're just hanging out and playing some great music. It's a gorgeous setting in Napa. And,
just hanging out on the riverfront.
Yeah, we play a lot
Are you from Napa?
I'm from Petaluma.
Petaluma.
Alamo.
Alamo.
I'm from Napa.
You're from Napa.
Yeah.
So you really appreciate this park and you wanted to share it with them.
That's right.
Well, we need a little ambiance besides just the river and the park. Can you provide us a little bit of ambionic music?
Yes, I think we have the antidote.
All right, I'm standing out of the picture. Here they go. See, that puts you in the right mood for what's coming up next. Okay, I've been in town for a couple of hours. I haven't had any wine. You gotta have wine when you come to Napa. So we've come to this restaurant and wine bar right on the riverfront, and you just told me you all have been here for a number of years.
We have. We've been here for 6 years. I think we were the first wine bar in downtown Napa, so we're kind of old suit.
You were pioneers here on the riverfront.
You got it.
This is an old building. What's the history on the building?
History behind the building, it was erected in 1888. So again, one of the older buildings in downtown Napa by the Cimaroli family. They originally lived upstairs, and downstairs was a grocery store. And they had a great business here for several years, and before we took it over, the building was actually empty. So we saw it. Our owner, Mark Pope, had the eye and knew he wanted this building for our shop.
He had a vision, because this, is with so many other buildings here on the riverfront, was sitting derelict.
Absolutely.
And you had to clean it up and restore it and make it into what it is today.
We did. We restored it. We actually put in hand-pound tin ceiling, trying to keep it the same era, that 1800s feel all the way through. And yeah, did a great job with it.
See, people love this atmosphere, and they probably like the wine too, don't they?
They definitely like the wine, absolutely. They come for the barbecue and the wine, that's why they're here.
The ribs have arrived. There's more here than just wine. The ribs have arrived.
Their barbecue is amazing.
And you know what you're talking about because you all are both firefighters here in Napa, and you come to this place a lot.
Come to the Bounty Hunter frequently, downtown Napa in general, yes.
Well, what do you think about this redevelopment? That's what we're here to document.
Love it. The Napa has transitioned from a real quiet downtown a decade ago to something that's got a lot of personality, a lot of different venues to visit, and some great places for both the locals and the visitors.
Well, it's got a lot of history.
Amazing history.
And you pointed out to me that you all are sitting right in front of something over there on the wall that kind of ties all this together.
Yeah, we've got this is actually a reproduction of a photo that a lot of locals remember that it's turn of the century from 1800s to 1900s, and if you look out the back window here, that's very similar to the view that would have been there.
Well, you remember the riverfront probably when it was kind of derelict here a couple of years ago.
Right, there's a lot of vacant lots on the riverfront, a lot of buildings that were vacant, and that's, as you see, a dramatic turnaround.
Well, you said the whole downtown was kind of derelict.
The downtown had a lot of buildings that didn't really have any architectural features to them that are of any interest. There's a lot of vacant business storefronts, and that has dramatically changed.
Wow. A personal testimony about history, architecture, ribs, and wine. Dig in, fellas.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have a sip of this. This is called Campfire. It's a Napa wine. And boy, they know what they're doing when it comes to wine. And it looks like they know what they're doing when it comes to ribs, too.
They have it down.
They got the wine down, too.
I could vouch for that.
As the tour continues, Cassandra, I got to tell you, the Napa River is beginning to look a little overgrown and a little puny.
That's because we're at the Napa Creek where it comes into the Napa River, and we're right on our new Opera House Plaza.
So wait a minute, let's get this out of the way first. The Napa Creek runs into the Napa River, but this is still considered the riverfront.
That's correct.
Okay, and now we've come to the Opera
House Plaza.
Opera House Plaza, and here to kind of give us the history of the Opera House, George, your full name is?
George Weber.
And you're kind of the docent, the historian around these parts. You give tours.
The Napa Walking Tour, Huel.
Okay, now this doesn't look old to me.
Yes, indeed. This part was just redone and finished in 2002 because this whole building had to go through extensive earthquake retrofit and fixed up from its deteriorated state.
But you said the front of it looks old, so we'll get a picture of that.
Opera House built in 1879, and from its building it was regarded instantly as one of the finest performing venues west of the Mississippi. John Philip Sousa's band played here. Louisa Tetrazzini, the famous Italian soprano, sang here. Jack London lectured here in 1905.
Oh my God.
And in 1906, the great San Francisco earthquake shook this building extremely badly as Napa, part of the great San Francisco earthquake.
But it survived. And the back is modern, the front looks old, shows its history, and how's it used today?
Well, it's an entertainment venue now. It was an opera house and an entertainment venue till 1915, and then after vaudeville had been killed by the movies, it closed as a performing venue. And then it was a office building deteriorating until 1975 when it was scheduled for the Wreckers Ball. And like so much of downtown Napa might have been taken down through the process we called urban renewal all across America.
Thank goodness it is now preserved and operating full blast as an opera house again.
And it took 25 years to raise the funds to fix the building. It finally $8.4 million raised by 2000. Robert Mondavi put in $1.5 million of the money toward this.
Wow.
And then took 2 years of reconditioning and opened in 2002 to great effect. And this building is part of the renaissance of downtown Napa and is a very well-run, well-funded nonprofit. And we get great people to appear here because they want to come to Napa too.
You know what? Mondavi, he contributed how much?
$1.5 million.
See, you can't get away from wine when you come to Napa, can you? Even the Opera House.
And we wouldn't want to.
Even the Opera House was restored in large part due to a gift from Robert Mondavi.
A wonderfully generous person.
Okay, we walked around front to see the old front of the Opera House. And then I looked down here and noticed this. Now, right next door is the Bounty Hunter, where we went for our wine. I had never seen this building. Somehow or another I missed it, I guess because we were coming in off the river. What's this old building, George?
The Winship Building, built in 1888 by Luther Turton, the great architect of Victorian Napa.
So a lot of the old buildings have been saved and redeveloped, not just the buildings that are right on the water, technically right on the water.
Indeed, sir.
He's so formal, indeed, sir.
I know it tells a wonderful story, doesn't it, about our Renaissance, buildings getting restored. This is a great local coffee shop in the ground floor.
So wait a minute, people come here for coffee in the morning.
That's right, and a walk on the river trail.
And wine in the afternoon at the Bounty Hunter. You got it all right here in one block.
What could be better?
And this is all everything up and down Main Street here, which adjoins the river, runs parallel to the river, is part of this project.
Our Renaissance of our riverfront.
Now, is this it?
No, we have more. We're going to go across the First Street Bridge and see more of the riverfront.
Well, wait a minute, I thought we've been on the riverfront.
Napa River has an oxbow in it.
Ah, so technically the project meanders around just like the river does.
Correct.
All right, we're leaving. Boy, look at this. These are absolutely beautiful buildings. We're leaving here, going across the bridge and seeing the rest of the project. We're following the river, the Napa River. Now we've come across the bridge to the bow in the river, right?
That's the oxbow.
The oxbow. We've
Yes.
met up with
Jennifer La Liberté.
You're also with the city of Napa. We decided to split this up a little bit between you and Cassandra. What are we seeing on this part of the river?
Well, over here is the Westin Verasa Hotel. It just opened a year ago, and it's about 160 rooms.
Built right on the river.
That's correct.
Then I looked out here, look at this. I thought this was just kind of a deserted, overgrown island out there, but
It's actually a 12-acre preserve called the Oxbow Preserve, named after the oxbow in the river.
so you're preserving land here for parks and hiking and use of the people of Napa and the surrounding communities.
That's correct, and for river habitat. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we were looking here at this pathway here, which I said, is this part of the river trail? And what'd you say?
It sure is. But
Part of the
it's
river
part of the
trail?
river trail.
But the sign there says trail closed ahead due to washout. So the river's still acting up.
The river's acting up. The flood protection project isn't complete yet, and so we're still going to have incidences like this where the river washes.
See, that shows
the
the
trail.
power of the river.
It's the mighty river for sure.
The mighty river.
Yeah.
And this guy knows about. You're not just standing here by accident.
No.
You came up just a minute ago and said, put me on television. And I
Yes,
said,
I did.
why? And what did you say?
I said, because I'm the man in the river.
You're the kayak
I'm the kayak guy. Yes, I do. Yes, I am.
So do people kayak on the river?
Yes, they do. We do about 60 people a week on the river. It's a very, very, very great place to go kayaking. The Napa River has a lot of history to it, and it's a very gorgeous river. And people here in Napa underutilize it. Now we've been on the river. We are utilizing it the right way.
Has the redevelopment of this area helped in the kayaking business and helping get people out on the river again?
Oh, yes, it has. Yes, it has. Especially with the city and the flood control working together, everyone working together. We've brought a lot more life on the river. And it's our goal to bring more and more people to Napa on the river and put them on the river as far as kayaking.
Well, it's low tide, so we can't go kayaking.
No,
but
but-
look over here. Cue the kayak. Here come two of your guys.
My guys are picking up the kayaks from this morning. We had some kayakers out this morning. They did a morning run because it's all based on the
So
tide.
this shows what goes on out on the river
Oh,
when
totally.
the tide is higher.
When the tide's higher.
And that's part of the story of this whole project.
Yes, it is. But also, you can also put people in the river when the tide's low too. It's depending on where we put the people in the river.
Yeah.
We have a launch pad here. We have a launch pad down in Cuttings Wharf, Kennedy Park.
So this whole area
is all kayaking. It's all boat friendly. It's all
Wow.
kayaking friendly. This is a great river, and we need to
Wow.
do
I'm-
more utilization of the
I'm
river.
glad we ran into you.
I'm
That's
glad I
a
ran into
great
you,
part
too.
of the story. Thank you.
No worries.
But
Thank
there's more. Because we're standing here to look at something. This isn't old, this is new.
This is new. This is the Oxbow Public Market. And it's a place with all these wonderful businesses that sell food and olives and olive oil and cheese and wine and beer and ice cream and candy, chocolate,
It's
and all
bringing
kinds
people
of things.
down to the riverfront.
And people who live in Napa love it here.
And
this
see,
is the
this
place
wasn't
to come.
even here before.
That's right.
This was
is
just
only a few
vacant
years old.
land.
That's absolutely right.
Well, we're ending up our adventure with a fresh buffalo taco, and a mango agua fresca from the Oxbow Public Market. Actually, we're ending up here on the bridge with Cassandra and Jennifer looking out at this beautiful riverfront project. You got to be proud of what is happening here in Napa.
It's exciting. We've had a great run, wonderful projects, wonderful people to work with, and a place for the community to enjoy and visitors to come to.
Well, you say you've had a great run, but it's still a work in progress, isn't it? There's still work going on.
There is, and there will continue to be, and what you see before you sort of sets the standard for the things that are coming.
Yeah, because by the time this goes on the air, a lot of these projects will be finished. People will be living in some of this housing, but there'll be other things going on in the months and years to come. So it's an ongoing revitalization, restoration, and creating a brand new appreciation for the riverfront here in Napa.
Thanks, Huel, for coming and visiting. It's been great to show you around. We hope you'll come back again and see the new stuff that comes in place over the next few years.
Well, all I've been doing is eating and drinking, but that's part of the riverfront experience. And walking over here to the bridge, I think you pointed out that the train station for the Napa wine train is just right over there.
It's right over there.
So I'm going to finish up this and then get down to the good stuff, really good stuff, and get on that wine train. I've always heard about it, never been on it, but that's part of the Napa experience as well, isn't it?
That's right, but you'll be back here.
Well, you're right, because the truth of the matter is when you talk about Napa, it's multi-dimensional. It's not just wine, it's not just vineyards, it's your river, it's your history, it's your sense of community. And that's what you celebrate with a project like this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
We've been to Napa, right here on the riverfront, which is definitely a wonderful example of one of California's communities. We've had a wonderful day, and now I'm heading off for the wine train. Goodbye, everybody. What a wonderful redevelopment success story on the riverfront in downtown Napa, which, believe me, is well worth a visit. Now, if you'd like to go on this riverfront adventure again or share it with family or friends, it's available on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.
California's Communities is supported by the California Redevelopment Association Foundation, a statewide organization made up of cities, counties, nonprofits, and private businesses sharing a common goal of bringing renewed life to neighborhoods and downtowns by expanding local businesses, creating jobs, building affordable housing, restoring buildings, and improving public facilities and infrastructure. Redevelopment, building better communities throughout California.